There is 4 studs and 2 here, 1 up here. You have to pull the firewall material up, and there is 1 underneath it. They have these 4 nuts. That's the only thing keep that AC unit inside the vehicle. That's the only way it's attached to the car, to these 4 studs. Like I said, there is 2 right here, and there is 2 right there. I had to remove all these parts to have access to the AC and heater unit, which is set right here. And we even have to disconnect this console. It doesn't have to be removed, but you just slide it, because this over here is engages with this center unit over here. It's held by 2 screws, 1 here and 1 here, and they have like small cover on them. You have to pull it out. I use just a small screwdriver. And on the back, you have to remove the handrest, and there's 2 screws. They sit 1 here and 1 here, and then you have to pull the handbrake rubber piece. It's held by a small latch on the bottom of it. They talk about there is a unit, it could be separated, the one where the heater core sit and the AC part. They have like 6 clips. This vehicle doesn't have that. It has the 1 unit, so it has to be pulled out and worked on to fix the blend doors or the heater core or the evaporator or whatever. I read online, some people they talk about they had to remove this piece to get access to it. I did. I removed all the bolts on, but there is a fuse box over there that's still attached to it, and there's a lot of wiring need to be undone. So what I did, I took all the bolts that I could reach, and I could lift this one up just enough to slide the unit out. You don't have to remove this part over here, but in my case it was filthy. It has a bunch of that foam in it, and it was easy. There is 1 bolt and small latch mechanism over here to hold it in place. You have to work it out with a screwdriver. I pulled it out, and there was a lot trash over here, so I thought it's a good idea to go ahead and clean it before I install the unit. I'm gonna do that now. It took about 7 hours to get to that point, just because I don't have the proper information, and I didn't want to take something that it doesn't need to be taken out. Clean the surface is real good. I'm gonna glue some carpet to them. I'm going to clamp it. mark where the metal is under the carpet, and I'm gonna cut it about 3/16 of inch wider. I cut them and fit them in. That glue is super good. It was hard to peel this carpet off over here. One thing, if you worry about it, you could sew it over here on the areas where the carpet meet and in the hole. This way it will never come off. But this glue, it could handle high temperature. I think it showed 370 Fahrenheit. There's some area I have to cut it to the bare metal over here because it will drag, and back here. I fit it in before and I'm ready to assemble it. But this how this one will go. It's hard to do it with one hand, and then it's very smooth, no dragging. This worked out pretty good for the carpet. It does seal way better. I saw some online, they use aluminum tape. I bought it, but it's not gonna seal right because it needs to be extended a little bit beyond the metal, and it's gonna leak a lot of air. This, it will leak little air but not much. Another thought is to replace the evaporator if you took this apart. I'm gonna replace the heater core because the other heater core is leaking. Yeah. That was the purpose we took it all apart, because this went bad. We found one at Naba for 47 bucks. The evaporator is about 150 bucks, but there is nothing wrong with this one. Still clean. There's no corrosion in it, so I'm just gonna reuse it. Also, there's another damper for the blender. This one right here. It's still in good shape, so I didn't mess with it. And it needs to be way thicker than the other two, so I left it alone. This actuator over here, it's about 150 bucks. I didn't replace it because this one's still working. However, taking this apart, it was a chore. It took about 7 hours to get everything apart. I can find a lot of information online about it, and there's a few things we did different than what's online because either the information is not accurate or we figure out a different way to do it. I'll show you here in a little bit. I fitted these, they operate perfectly. We cut the carpet with cutter, square between the mark points. I'm gonna loop this point with some grease, and we're gonna put it together. The evaporator go here, and after we assemble this whole thing, then the heater core will fit from the top down over here. Another suggestion, if you take it all apart, go ahead and replace the fan. Mine, I'm just gonna lubricate it a little bit. I check the bushing. There's no play in them. So I'm just gonna put some oil over here on this bushing and try to reach the bottom one. But it's still good. I look at the brushes. They're still good and the motor is still good. So I'm just gonna leave it alone. This carpet over here, I have it left over from the boat when I did my boat. I did it about 3 years ago. It's set in the sun, water, sand, and it's still good on the boat. So I figure this will be superior for this project, better than foam. And I try to hit it with the hair dryer, and didn't burn it or anything. So I think it will handle the temperature, the high temperature from the heater core, which I figure it's going to be around 150, 160 Fahrenheit. The adhesive I use is the 3M from Home Depot. It's about 13 bucks a can, and I just spray it on both surfaces, wait for about 3 minutes, and then glue it together and clamp it overnight. The blower fan slide in, and this go on top of it. It's assembled. I use a bunch of small tie wraps to go around it like the original was. Home Depot, they sell the right size tie wrap, but they sell a bag of them for almost 15 bucks. And these will do the same thing. I have a bunch of those. The new heater core come with this weather strip. The original one didn't have it, so I'm not going to use it. And this is the same material that flake, so this is trash. Also, it comes with this cap on the bottom. With it, it will not fit. It will not latch to this, so I took it off. This is the new heater core. Like I said, I bought it from Naba, and this is the part number. With tax, it was like $52. A few thoughts I like to share. The O-rings for this, make sure when you pull it out, make sure you take care of them, because they actually went down and disappeared, and we spent about 30 minutes looking for them. So be careful with that. The studs that hold the unit inside, the heater and AC unit, it's held by 4 bolts. One here, and one right here under the firewall carpet, and there's one right underneath it, right here. There's one here and one here, so there's 4, total of 4. These covered with these thing. They used to look like this. I already have the unit installed, and I'm also gonna share some thoughts from inside of the vehicle. The unit already installed. Like I said, it's held by 4 studs on the firewall, and I could see a pin over here with rubber. This also supported on this side. When we took it out, we have to dismantle everything inside the vehicle. I didn't find a lot of information online on how to do it, but I found one post, I think on new Beetle website, and somebody took a bunch of pictures and show how to I guess he replaced the blend doors, but I have to pull the whole unit out to replace the heater core as well. Some vehicle, some Volkswagen, they have a clips to separate the heater part from the cold part or the AC part, and it could be this you could leave inside and you don't have to discharge the AC, but in this particular vehicle I had to pull the whole unit out because it's held by screws, not clips. We didn't have to remove this completely out. There is some 4 bolts, I believe they hold it. They covered with some plastic cover, I believe that's right here. There's one screw here, one screw on the other side, 2 over here, and we have to remove the armrest, and we have to also pull the rubber boot for the handbrake. It's held by a small latch under here. You pull it down and the whole thing will slide out, and you slide this one just enough like this to disconnect that center console over here where the switches and knobs for the AC, and this everything will come out. You don't have to pull this vent up here. It's held by several screws on the inside, and there is like a mechanical latch over here and a screw, I believe somewhere over here. It's held over here. I pulled it out to clean it because it has a lot of that foam stuff. This vehicle is actually for my daughter. That's what she wants as first vehicle. We didn't have to remove this completely out because this also support the fuse block back there, and it's hard to reach. However, I took all the bolts that hold it in place, even the one that hold the steering column, and this one here, and we have to lift it up to be able to pull the heater unit out. The harness for the heater core and AC unit, it's all plugs, but I couldn't reach everywhere to disconnect it while it's in the vehicle. However, everything else that attached to it, I think there's a plug right here, and there's this plug, that's a plug into the knobs for the fan speed and all that. However, there is one wire I had to cut right here. I just have to splice. And like I said, I found some useful information online on how to take the unit out. This is just my thought on what I did different, and I think I saved some time. Taking this out probably to unplug the fuse box and all that will add an additional hour to the job. And now it's time to assemble it. Like I said earlier, the filter doesn't have to be removed. This piece over here to defog the windshield doesn't have to be removed. Just got them out to clean them. This over here, the fuse box. need to be disconnected from the side. Another tip, if this pin broke, the way to fix it is you could add tie wrap. Over here I added tie wrap just in case, but on this other side it's broke, so this now acts as a stop. I just drilled a small hole and with an 1/8 inch drill bit and use a small tie wrap. Now it's worked fine. There's one cable out of the centerpiece, need to plug right there. I'm ready to install this. One thing to note, there is one small cable, 4 pins, that's a plug right there. And the harness for the radio need to be pulled from here, and the antenna from here. Start coming together. I did time the steering alignment to this part over here with marker, so I put them back the way they came out, and it's almost done. Another tip, when I remove the bolt for the steering wheel, I took a marker and marked from the thread all the way up, so this way I don't have to guess how to time the steering wheel. The bolt for the steering wheel, it's a 12 millimeter, a 12 point torque type tool required to open it. However, a 3/8 regular Allen head will work just fine. The only thing really left before we could turn the vehicle on and see if everything good is the airbag. Very important, make sure you disconnect the battery completely before you perform any work, so the airbag don't deploy the driver side and the passenger side. And this seems to be very easy. Take this guard off and we could release the tension on the first belt, and one of the hoses can be reached from here. It's gonna be this hose. We could take the bolt off from the top. It's 45 torque 45, and I'm planning to disconnect the solenoid over here of the compressor control valve, and then release the belts, lose these 3 bolts. They hold the compressor in place. This is one, this is one, and there's one right there, 13 millimeters. And then I'm gonna drop it down and take off this hose while the compressor down, because I can't reach it. That was 10 minutes job. And now this bolt over here. Once again, this is T45. It's perfect fit. This the coolant I used. It took one and little bit out of a second one, so I had to buy 2 bottles. I empty the first one into here, and then I filled the empty bottle to the same amount of coolant that was in it, with distilled water, and I empty it there too, and then it took this much out of the second one. It does show on this coolant to mix it 1-to-1 ratio or 2-to-3 or 1-to-2. The car is running fine. The heater and the AC work, and there is no leak. And the vent work excellent. It doesn't blow any more cotton or that foam stuff, and it regulates right vent wise, and the car is running perfect. It's been a year since we fixed the heater core on this car, and I also fixed the vents for the AC or HVAC unit, and it's still holding up. The AC worked good, the heater worked good in this car. There's no issue with vents. And I wish you best of luck if you're fixing your car.